My name is Dr. Thomas, and I've spent the last 31 years watching what happens to the human body. After 75, I've reviewed thousands of patient files, sat across from hundreds of families in my office, and I can tell you with absolute certainty that what I'm about to share with you today is something most seniors in this country never hear until it's already too late. Not because doctors are hiding it, but because by the time most patients walk into a clinic showing the signs, the process has been running silently. So today I'm going to tell you the truth. The complete, unfiltered truth about 5 biological changes that strike every single American who crosses the age of 75. It doesn't matter if you live in Florida or Minnesota, if you've been active your whole life or spent your career behind a desk, if you eat organic food and walk 5 miles every morning, or if you've never set foot in a gym, these 5 changes are coming, and the ones who handle them best are always the ones who saw them coming first. Now, before we go any further, I want you to do something for me. Hit that like button and subscribe right now, because what I'm about to share is the kind of information that your doctor has maybe 12 minutes to cover during your annual checkup. 12 minutes. I'm going to give you what those 12 minutes can never cover, and stay with me through all 5, because the change I'm saving for last is the one that controls the speed of everything else happening in your body. You do not want to miss it. Let's start with number 5. I cannot tell you how many patients have come into my office in their mid to late 70s, absolutely convinced they have a serious medical problem because they cannot sleep. They're lying awake at 3 in the morning. They fall asleep at 7 in the evening. In the middle of a conversation, they wake up 789 times a night and don't remember half of them. And every single time, I have to sit down with them and explain that what they're experiencing is not insomnia. It's not anxiety. It's not a sign of dementia. What they're experiencing is a complete architectural restructuring of how their brain sleeps. And it happens to every human being on Earth. Once they hit 75, here's what the research tells us. The Sleep Research Society published data showing that after age 75, the brain reduces its production of deep sleep by up to 70%. That deep sleep stage is not optional. That is the stage where your body repairs tissue, consolidates memory, regulates your immune system, and basically does all the maintenance work that keeps you functioning the next day. When you lose 70% of it, you feel it everywhere, in your joints, in your memory, in your mood, in your energy levels. Everywhere your brain also slashes melatonin production, the hormone that tells your body it's time to sleep. By roughly 15% every single year after 75, let that sink in. Every year, another 15% gone, and your internal clock, what scientists call the suprachiasmatic nucleus, physically shifts forward by 2 to 3 hours. This is why dinner at 4 in the afternoon suddenly feels completely natural. This is why you're ready for bed before the evening news is over. This is biology. Not weakness, not old age mentality. This is your brain operating on a new schedule. The average American over 75 wakes between 15 and 20 times a night, though they only consciously remember 2 or 3 of those awakenings. What this means, practically, is that you need to stop fighting your body's new schedule and start working with it. Go to bed when you're tired, even if it's embarrassingly early by your old standards. Use morning light, real sunlight, within 30 minutes of waking to anchor your new clock. Cut every screen and bright light after 6 in the evening, and consider the split sleep pattern that was actually the norm for most of human history before electricity. 4 hours of sleep, an hour of quiet wakefulness, then another 3 to 4 hours. Many of my patients who stopped fighting that pattern and embraced it reported better rest than they'd had in years. The key is this: your sleep is not broken, it's been rebuilt. And the Americans who understand that stop suffering and start adapting. Now, while your sleep architecture is being rebuilt, something else is happening that's far more physically dangerous, and most people have absolutely no idea until they end up in the emergency room. Your body's ability to regulate its own temperature breaks down permanently at 75, and I mean that word carefully, permanently. The hypothalamus, the small region in your brain that acts as your internal thermostat, loses roughly 20% of its temperature-sensitive neurons by age 75. What this means in plain language is that your body simply cannot detect changes with the accuracy it once had. You've been walking around your whole life trusting your body to tell you when you're too hot or too cold. After 75, that signal becomes unreliable. Your sweat glands, your primary cooling system, lose up to 40% of their function. The CDC tracks heat stroke hospitalizations by age group, and the numbers are stark. After 75 heat stroke, hospitalizations jump by 300%. That is not a rounding error. That is a crisis hiding in plain sight at the same time. The fat layer just under your skin, the one that's been insulating you against the cold your entire life, thins by about 30%. Your metabolism drops by 20%, meaning you're generating less internal heat. Your blood vessels lose their ability to constrict and dilate efficiently in response to temperature. And here is the part that genuinely concerns me as a physician. Your body stops sending you accurate warning signals. Research consistently shows that people over 75 often do not feel thirsty, even when they are dangerously dehydrated. They do not shiver effectively when they are dangerously cold. The two alarm systems nature gave us to prevent temperature emergencies simply go quiet. So, what do? You stop trusting your feelings and start trusting your thermometer. Keep your home between 68 and 74 degrees year-round. That is not a preference. That is a medical recommendation. Install thermometers in multiple rooms. Set hourly phone reminders to drink water. Regardless of whether you feel thirsty, aiming for at least 48 ounces daily dress in layers every single day. Because your perception of your own temperature can shift multiple times between morning and evening due to blood pressure fluctuations and medication effects, and if the outdoor temperature drops below 40 or climbs above 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Exercise indoors, no exceptions. Your margin for temperature error is no longer what it was, and the Americans who treat that fact seriously stay out of emergency rooms. Now we're going to talk about something that almost nobody connects to aging until it's already affecting their daily life. Your digestive system after 75, your entire gastrointestinal tract enters what gastroenterologists call a permanent slowdown. And I want you to understand that I'm not talking about occasional indigestion or a sensitive stomach. I'm talking about a structural change in how your body processes everything you eat. Your esophagus loses up to 50% of its muscle coordination. That automatic process of swallowing that you've never once had to think about in your life becomes something that takes conscious effort. That feeling of food sitting in your chest or getting stuck that's not in your head, that is real, and it is mechanical. Your saliva production drops by 40%. And since saliva contains the enzymes that begin breaking down food before it even reaches your stomach, your digestion is already compromised before your first bite finishes its journey down your stomach. Acid production falls by 30% now. I know some of you are thinking, that sounds like a relief after years of heartburn, but that acid is doing critical work. It breaks down proteins. It allows your body to absorb vitamin B12, iron, and calcium, and it kills harmful bacteria coming in with your food. When that acid drops, all three functions are compromised. The most serious change happens in your small intestine, where the structures responsible for absorbing nutrients shrink by up to 25%, creating what researchers call malabsorption syndrome. You can be eating a nutritious diet, and your body is simply not pulling out everything it should. Your pancreas reduces its enzyme output by 40%, which is why foods that never bothered you before suddenly leave you bloated, uncomfortable, and exhausted after meals. And your colon, which normally moves food through in 30 to 40 hours, can take over 100 hours in someone over 75. That is why chronic constipation affects 60% of Americans in this age group. Here's how you fight back. Eat smaller meals, no more than 400 to 500 calories at a time, every 3 to 4 hours. Train yourself to chew every bite at least 30 times because mechanical breakdown through chewing compensates for the reduced chemical breakdown your body can no longer provide. Take a broad-spectrum digestive enzyme supplement 15 minutes before meals. Incorporate fermented foods, yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi into your daily diet to protect the bacterial diversity in your gut and shift your fiber approach. Focus on soluble fiber from oatmeal, bananas, and sweet potatoes rather than loading up on raw vegetables, which your slowed system increasingly struggles to process. These are not complicated changes, but they are changes that make an enormous difference in how you feel every single day. Now I need to tell you about the change that puts more Americans over 75 in the hospital than almost anything else, and it is one that most people attribute entirely to clumsiness or bad luck. It is neither. Falls are not accidents after 75. They are the predictable outcome of a specific biological process that begins attacking 3 separate systems in your body simultaneously. And researchers have a name for it. They call it the triple threat to stability. The first system is your vestibular system, those tiny structures in your inner ear that tell your brain where your head is positioned in space. After 75, this system loses up to 40% of its sensory cells. The second system is your proprioceptive network, the sensors embedded in your muscles and joints that tell your brain where every part of your body is, even in the dark, even without looking. That system loses up to 50% of its sensitivity. The third system is vision, specifically contrast sensitivity and depth perception, which decline by 60 and 40% respectively. After 75 on their own, any one of these losses would be serious together. They are compounding because your brain's integration center, the region that takes all 3 signals and coordinates your physical response processes, balance information 70% more slowly after 75. What this means in the real world is this. By the time your brain detects that you are losing your balance and sends the signal to correct it, the window to catch yourself has already closed. This is not clumsiness. This is physics meeting biology. The ankle muscles that provide your first line of defense against balance disruption lose 40% of their strength. Your ankle flexibility decreases by 50%, and fear of falling, which affects the majority of Americans over 75, actually increases fall risk by another 30% because chronic anxiety creates muscle tension that removes the fluid automatic quality that good balance requires. I tell every patient over 75 the same thing. Balance training is not optional at your age. It is as non-negotiable as taking your medication. Stand on one foot while turning your head. Do it near a wall for safety, but do it every single day. Practice standing with your eyes closed to force your proprioceptive system to work. Look into Tai Chi because the research is genuinely remarkable. Studies show Tai Chi reduces fall risk in seniors by up to 45%. It combines everything your balance system needs: controlled weight shifting, mental focus, slow, deliberate movement in a format that is low impact and socially engaging. Walk through your home this week and remove every throw rug. Install grab bars, not just in your bathroom, but along your hallway. Improve your lighting, especially on stairs and in doorways between rooms, because remember, your contrast sensitivity has dropped by 60%, and take your footwear seriously. After 75, your shoes are medical equipment. Firm, non-slip soles, heels, no higher than 1-inch secure fastening. Many of my patients have been advised by their podiatrist to wear supportive shoes inside the house at all times. That advice has prevented more falls than any single medication I've ever prescribed. Time your most demanding physical activities for late morning after your body has been moving for a couple of hours. But before afternoon fatigue sets in, that window is when your balance is at its best, and taking advantage of it is a simple strategy that costs absolutely nothing. And now, we've reached the change I promised you, the one that sits underneath everything else, the engine driving the speed of your entire physical decline after 75. And when I explain it to patients, I always watch their faces, because what I'm about to tell you is simultaneously the most frightening and the most actionable thing you will hear today. After age 75, your body triggers a process that scientists at the National Institute on Aging identified as sarcopenia overdrive. Your muscle mass begins disappearing at a rate of 3 to 5% every single year. By the time an American reaches 80, they have lost up to 25% of the muscle they had at 75. And I want to be very clear about what muscle means. In this context, muscle is not vanity. Muscle is not athletics. Muscle is the tissue that determines whether you can stand from a chair without using your arms, whether you can climb the stairs in your home, whether you can carry your own groceries, whether you can live independently. Losing 25% of it in 5 years is not a cosmetic issue. It is a functional catastrophe. The mechanism behind this is something called anabolic resistance, and it is one of the most important concepts in geriatric medicine that almost no one outside of research has heard of. After 75, your muscles stop responding to protein and physical activity the way they used to. You can eat protein and you can exercise, and your muscles will absorb less of the benefit than they would have at 60 or 65. Your satellite cells, the specialized stem cells that rebuild muscle after any kind of physical stress, decline by 70% after age 75. When you damage muscle through normal activity, which happens to everyone, it no longer fully rebuilds. The damage simply accumulates. The type of muscle fiber you lose fastest is the one you can least afford to lose. Type 2 muscle fibers. The fast twitch fibers responsible for power and rapid response disappear at twice the rate of slow twitch fibers. These are the fibers that let you catch yourself when you trip. These are the fibers that let you stand up quickly. These are the fibers that are standing between you and the kind of fall that changes everything. And your body is burning through them twice as fast as everything else. The hormonal picture makes this worse. Testosterone drops to near undetectable levels in men. Growth hormone production falls by 80%. IGF-1, the hormone that signals your muscles to grow and repair, becomes so scarce that your muscles literally cannot receive the instruction to rebuild, even when you're doing everything right. And inflammation, the chronic low-grade inflammation that runs through the bodies of most Americans over 75, creates a biological environment where your body is constantly breaking down muscle faster than it can possibly be rebuilt, regardless of your diet, regardless of your effort. The mitochondria inside your muscle cells, the structures that produce the energy your muscles run on, decrease in both number and efficiency. After 75, the combined result is that your muscles have 65% less energy available for any activity. This is not tiredness. This is not laziness. This is your muscles running on a fraction of the fuel they used to have. And the exhaustion that hits after minimal exertion is real, measurable, and physiological. Here's what you do. Protein timing becomes the single most important dietary decision you make every day. After 75, research is clear that you need 25 to 30 grams of high-quality protein at every meal, and you need to space it throughout the day because your body cannot store and use a large protein load all at once. The way a younger body can, your total daily protein target after 75 is 1.5 grams per kilogram of body weight. That is nearly double what standard nutritional guidelines recommend for younger adults, because your anabolic resistance means you need to flood the system to get the same response. Focus on leucine-rich protein sources, eggs, chicken, dairy, fish, because leucine is the specific amino acid that triggers muscle protein synthesis, and you need at least 3 grams of it per meal to overcome anabolic resistance. Vitamin D deficiency affects 75% of Americans over 75, and it directly accelerates sarcopenia if you have not had your vitamin D levels tested recently. That needs to happen this week. Studies consistently show that correcting vitamin D deficiency can improve muscle function by up to 20%. 20% from a single nutrient exercise is still essential, but the approach must change completely. Morning workouts produce better results in this age group because cortisol levels are naturally higher in the morning, which temporarily reduces anabolic resistance after working a muscle group. Give it 72 hours before working it again, not 48 hours. Like the standard advice you've been following, your satellite cells need more time to do their reduced work, and understand that a period of inactivity now costs you more than it ever has. 10 days of bed rest after 75 causes the same muscle loss as 2 years of normal aging. When you're sick, when you're recovering from anything, maintaining even minimal movement is not just helpful, it is urgent. I want to say something before we finish, because I think it matters. These 5 changes are not evidence that your body has failed you. Your body has not failed you. Your body is doing exactly what human biology programs it to do: sarcopenia, balance deterioration, digestive slowdown, thermoregulatory breakdown, sleep restructuring. These are not signs of weakness or poor choices. They are the predictable, documented outcomes of a biological timeline written into every human being on this planet. The shame that so many of my patients feel when their bodies stop doing what they've always done. That shame is not earned, it is not deserved, and it is not useful. What is useful is this knowing that these changes are coming, or, for many of you, knowing that these changes are already underway, transforms them from invisible threats into manageable realities. The patients in my practice who age best are not the ones who were the healthiest at 50. They are the ones who stopped being surprised by what 75 brings and started making deliberate, informed decisions about how to meet it. You just spent the last several minutes getting information that most Americans in your age group will never receive in a format they can actually use. That is not a small thing, and if you found value in it, I'd ask you to do 2 things. Subscribe to this channel, because we are going to go deep on every one of these topics individually, with the specific protocols, the specific exercises, and the specific nutritional strategies that the research actually supports, and share this video with someone you love who is at or approaching 75, because knowing this changes outcomes. It genuinely does. I'm Dr. Thomas. Stay informed, stay healthy, and I'll see you in the next one.